Alright, so this one is partial products and so if we take something like 280, let's start over here. 280 divided by 14. Something that we can do is we can make our ratio table. So we know it's 1, the ratio is 1 to 14. So every one of these there's 14, right? And so we're going to, no, that's backwards. For every one of these there's 14. It's something like that. Again, I always get very confused about this stuff. I guess it's because this is the multiplication way and we're doing multiplication to get up there. So yeah, that's more what it is. Okay, great. Anyway, so we're assuming that this is divisible equally by 14. Okay, I finally figured that all out. That's great. Good for you, Mr. Light. Okay, so something I can do here is I can multiply each by 10. So that gives me 10 and 140. And then I can multiply by 2. And that gives me 20 and 280. So that tells me that 280 divided by 14 equals 20. All right, so these are partial products I'm using to find my actual quotient. So my quotient is up here. I have products here because I'm using multiplication. Okay, so this actually turns into my quotient. Okay, so if I gave you the problem 28 divided by 14, hopefully you wouldn't have to do much there, that you understand that that's 2. So that 28 is double 14. Okay, so thinking about these two things, if I were to ask you to figure out 308 divided by 14, what would you do? What would you do? Pause it and think about it and try and figure it out. So maybe what you did is you saw that the first problem we did, when we had 20, we were left with 280. With this one, we know 2 is equal to 28. And if we add these together, so this is 20 plus 2, and this is 280 plus 28. That's going to give me 28, and then 308. So that's going to tell me that 308 divided by 14 equals 22. Again, using our products that we know, our partial products, and adding them together to get our quotient. Because again, division and multiplication are connected. I go one way for multiplication, and then I can go the other way with that knowledge to get my division facts, or my division answer. Let's look at some other problems. And, oops. What about, we can fit this here. I'll change colors. 252 divided by 14. Pause it, think about it, and try to figure it out. So again, if we use that same general information as we had before, we can subtract these two, and that'll tell us that 18 groups of 14 is equal to 252. And if you want to connect this back to our previous video, if you're watching the playlist in order, then we can see that 280 divided by 14 minus 28 divided by 14 gives us 20 minus 2, which is equal to 18. Right, so same sort of thought process. This is just looking at it a little differently. I want to give you a lot of different strategies to use. Maybe you like this one better. Maybe you like this first one the best. I like this one better than this one. It's just for me, it connects more. All right. What about? I'm going to pause it to get a new sheet of paper. All right. So this time we're going to do 2,800 divided by 14. Again, pause it, try it out, see if you can get it. You may have just thought this one through. You may have gone, well, since 14 times 2 equals 28, I know that 14 times 20 equals 280, and 14 times 200 equals 2,800. So my answer would be 200. Okay, what about 3,052 divided by 14? You might want to look at your other work too and pause it. Okay. One of the things that we were hoping you would find there, that 2,000, you can take 3,052 and we can break that down into 2,800 plus 252. Remember, we solved that one over here somewhere. Where was it? Here. Right, that was 18. And that's going to give us 200 plus 18, so that's going to give us 218. So again, using partial products, using partial quotients, at this point is, what do you feel like? Okay, what do you feel better? Do you like using the ratio table and using the products, or do you like kind of splitting the number apart into partial quotients? Let's give this a whirl. What about 2,786 divided by 14? Again, pause it, think about it. For me, I saw that 2,786 equaled 2,800 minus 14. So again, that's going to give us 200 minus 1, which is 199. And our last one for today, for this problem string, is a new number for this one. So again, this one, you're going to need to use the thinking that we've done so far to try and help yourself out. I'm going to move myself down. I think it might be a little bit more pleasing to the eye there. Use the thinking. It's not going to, the math beforehand isn't going to help. You're not going to be able to do that part. But the problem is this: 462 divided by 22. Again, partial products, partial quotients. Pause it. Let's see what you do. Okay, so hopefully the first thing that you did is you thought about, well, what 22s do I know? Okay, and here's some 22s that you should know. You should know 10 is 220. And if you know 10 is 220, you know that 20 is 440. Whoa, lo and behold. At that point, you should get very excited and going, wait a second, 440, 462. Oh, look at them apples. I know that 21 groups of 22 is 462. Or maybe you did this. Maybe you're like, yeah, I feel good. I feel like 220, 440, all that stuff. And split it into division. Maybe you saw 462 as 440 plus 22. And you could have either seen 440 and gone, okay, I know what that is, or you could have split that up even more to 220 and 220. And you could have changed the problem to, well, we don't have to move. You could have changed the problem to 220 divided by 22 plus 220 divided by 22 plus 22 divided by 22. Oh, so then you would get 10 plus 10 plus 1, or 21, just like that one. So hopefully you did one of those two things. Again, breaking down numbers, understanding that we can multiply by 10, if we can double, if we can halve, if I can multiply by 10, I can do anything in the world mathematically, at least for 5th grade. Ciao.